high of 81. Tomorrow night will be partly cloudy with a low of 65. On Saturday, anticipate intervals of clouds and sun with a high of 80. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from The Signature, a division of Esquire Bank Studios.
This hour of The Shaun Thompson Show is sponsored exclusively by DonleyAuctions.com. They need your guns. Sell for top dollar. DonleyAuctions.com.
I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry and all else. I love property. And let me tell you something. If you care about your country, read Ludwig von Mises and the 6 lessons of the Austrian Economic School, motherfuckers.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government. With a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other, he's Shaun Thompson. And this is the Shaun Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag.
Every instance, every issue, every problem, every policy created by political pirates meant to be stolen. Every promise of utopia, from the smallest municipality to Washington, D.C., could not have been made possible without a Department of Agitation and Propaganda posing as media. We know this. We're from Chicago. These morons that can't add 2 plus 2 are the ones selling you this Democrat short-in-the-pants mafia as a government. In the same way morons nationwide sold you Obamacare to lower your premiums. That's a terrible situation, but it's also a land made for opportunity. My next guest took advantage of that opportunity. He understood that the problem wasn't just Mockingbird Media. It was that there was nobody delivering the outlet on television, and that's why he is the CEO and chairman of Newsmax. Chris Ruddy, how are you?
Shaun, I'm doing great. Always great to be on with you, and especially with an introduction like that.
Well, I've been aggravated really since 60 Minutes exposed itself for what it was in the 2000s. As a kid growing up, I loved the news. I was a political junkie, Chris, my whole life. I can remember Richard Nixon in front of the Contemporary with the 2 fingers in the air, getting on the helicopter and going off, "I'm not a crook." You remember that? I remember.
Oh, yeah.
The guy coming back from the last guy from Vietnam gets off the plane and kisses the ground. And the pride of America and the way in which it was turned, the mores have changed. It's the rise of the repulsives, only possible through media, isn't it?
Social media. It started with the big media, right, of the ABCs and the CBS, and they gave aid and comfort. And then it's now morphed into something that's monstrous, that's evil, and they're infecting these young people where they're buying into socialism, they're buying into wokeism, and it's really bad. And you see it in the polls where there's just a huge differential on so many issues where the younger people are taking just dramatically different views, and it's all this liberal stuff that it's not even liberal, Shaun. It's left-wing propaganda. And the DSA, look at these type of candidates would have never, ever been accepted by the Democratic Party 30 years ago. Now they're the mainstream of the Democratic Party.
Well, it's really the movement that moved forward from that silver-tongued devil from my hometown, right? Not really. He's really from Indonesia, but who set up shop here in Chicago, right? And that swindler, bastard, fraud, and the promises of utopia, and there are no ramifications for the failure in the policies, and that's specifically how the Democrat mafia in Chicago used the cover of a philosophy of politics. That's where Saul Alinsky perfected it, right here in Chicago, the half-assed capital of communism and organized syndicate. Only now they're all pansies.
Well, Barack Obama, I think, said that Saul Alinsky was his mentor, right? So. And his book, Radical, what is it? Radical Principles.
Rules for Radical was Saul Alinsky, right. and it was Barack Obama was heavily inspired, but it was the Duchess of Chaffington that was his favorite steward, known as Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton actually was friendly with him. She went from being a Goldwater girl to a Saul Alinsky accolade. So it's really interesting. But that's what Chicago was. It always had that veneer. This is where they normalized political corruption, right? Yeah, you need a job, you need a thing, They normalize it, and then everybody likes it because they feel they have clout, as it's known in my neighborhood, or what it's really meant is political sway, political influence. And they did, for the most part.
They normalized vote fraud. I mean, that became the model of voting fraud and irregularities was Mayor Daley's machine.
So, Chris, to watch what we lived through in 2020, I mean, it is an outrageous reality. And what you had said about Chicago, my whole neighborhood, everybody in Chicago bragged how they stole the election in 1960. I mean, everybody knows voting's a fracking joke. And when they stole that election, I was doing election night coverage here. I was asked on Beyond the Beltway. Dumont, it was his name. Wonderful man. He's passed away since. Bruce Dumont, who was always very gracious.
Yeah, I knew Bruce.
Very gracious to me. And he said, come on, we had done a show. I was filling in for Walsh. He said, come on, let's do it. And Proft happened to be here too, Dan Proft. So we were doing the election night coverage. The minute they shut it down, we had just had on a mathematician from California who said it's virtually a mathematical impossibility for Joe Biden to stage a comeback. They shut it down at 10 p.m., 11, it might have been midnight. And I said to Bruce, this is it. This is when the scumbags come out and they steal the election from the south side of Chicago. This is how it works. And that's exactly what they did. And look at what media did to silence anybody who spoke it. I never thought I would live through that kind of censorship between the election being stolen, COVID being a bioweapon, and the vaccine killing people. It's really something to have lived through it in the year of 2021 and 2020. And even now, the censorship. Are you in awe of the willingness for media outlets to work as propaganda vehicles?
Look, it used to be the ABC, they had some integrity, the New York Times, the Chicago Tribune, they would have some sensibility about them, right? That's all gone out the window. They've just become their openly mouthpieces of the Democratic Party, now the DSA. The New York Times is the most shameless probably in the country. And the Media Research Center study of the 24 election showed that 80% of the press reports about Donald Trump were negative, major media. 90% of the press reports about Kamala Harris were positive. Now, how can you tell me that media isn't fair? They say they're fair, they're balanced, they're real journalism. It's a left-wing journalism that we keep seeing and repeating, and it keeps us in business, right? People are tuning into your show, Shaun, because they're not hearing it in any other media, and Newsmax has been growing. We have now 50 million people tuning into our cable channel, our streaming channel on the streaming. They're downloading our free app on their iPhone and Android. We've had 15 million people do that recently. That's a big number.
Sure it is.
They're tuning in.
And Chris, what's interesting is to watch the obvious collapse and failure and the promises that have been broken over the last 15 years specifically, but not exclusively. To go back and to listen to all of these political whores pose themselves as experts. Kamala Harris never did anything except Willie Brown in the back of a Riviera when she pretended to be a lawyer. You look at the fact that up until Donald Trump, we've never really had people who lived in the real world and achieved things. For the most part, 90% of politicians never lived in the real world. They never did what we did. The beauty I see of Trump, who I disagreed with on many, many things, especially when he was hiring Democrats in Chicago. I really was hard on him. But the beauty of what he represents is something that I think people need to capture. He represents what you said earlier. There is no liberal except for the actual American who believes in the principles of Americanism. We've been allowing communists and socialists and Marxists to hide under the liberal banner in the same way we've been allowing profiteers to hide in the conservative banner. Donald Trump represents a third party in America, the likes of which nobody has ever seen. And the reason is he's a man who operated in the real world. He never ran for dog catcher before he became the president. We need to capture on this and make sure we can build an entire new group of Americans who only want America to succeed always and forever. Don't you think?
Well, it sounds very patriotic and very inspiring, what you're saying. But, Donald Trump, I've known him for almost 30 years. he's a real person, right? Like you're saying, he connects with ordinary people. He's actually a pretty humble guy. I mean, he when you meet him or he meets people, he treats the janitor in his Trump building like he treats the manager and the supervisors. Everybody gets treated the same. And so, it's a very fundamentally decent approach. People forget he actually had a fairly religious upbringing. Norman Vincent Peale, remember that name?
I'm a huge fan.
He was his pastor. The power of thought, positive thinking, that's imbued in Donald Trump. So that's why he's always winning. He's always happy. He's always moving forward. And it's a type of confidence that used to be the old America. Now they're always telling us we're losing, we're problems, we're going to be sued, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that. And Donald Trump just sees solutions.
Well, all businessmen have to view that. They have to be optimists in general, even when they're facing extreme challenges. You have to be optimistic, and you have to say it in order for it to happen. You have to believe it. And there's something that's interesting about Donald Trump. I've only met him one time, and it was extremely brief. It was after the election was stolen in 2020, and we got invited through Salem to go and view a Dinesh D'Souza production. And we went out to Mar-a-Lago, and a very good guy who had really reminiscent of Donald Trump, never ran for anything, was running for governor, by the name of Gary Rabine, who is a wonderful guy, became a friend of mine.
Yes, I know him. I know him. Good man.
Good guy. And we were standing there, and he goes, come here, pushed me up, and he was walking out. And I shook Donald Trump's hand, and he did something that I have never had a politician do. Only decent people do it. Guys on job sites do it. I used to be a commodity trader. Guys in the pit would do it. Only the good guys, though. And when they shake your hand, they look at you, and they are talking to you. And he is saying, he's engaging me. We're surrounded by hundreds of people. And I have a very brief interaction. I said, they could cheat you out of an election, but they can't cheat you out of the success. And he looks at me and says, you're exactly right. And that was, at that moment, you make that decision where he's one of us. He's a normal American person who wants to succeed always. He wants to talk about how to succeed even when you're in the face of being cheated. And it was at that moment where I said, well, listen, now my concerns, I had admired his first term immensely and supported him vehemently for his second. But any concern I had about his character was completely out of the window. And to see the weaponization of government, the fraud and the attack on phony businesses and phony allegations, I think that actually was a blessing in disguise, the fact that they were so blatant in their corruption. And when I say they, I mean the government that stood lockstep against them. Do you feel that might have actually been a benefit for the long-term success of America?
Yeah, I mean, I think people like they love Trump because he's standing up against the establishment, right? And yeah. he's offering another view, and what we saw with the prosecution of him during those 4 years he was out of power was something that was a third world country, and people really are reacting to that, and I think that's a key reason he won. But I think it's a really key reason that a lot of people in America are standing up, and they're saying that I think Trump this election period is going to be very important for us. The Republicans are behind in the polls, but we have 60 days. The president's made an incredible record. He's only been in office a year and a half. He's done dozens and dozens of things, and he's been able to really secure the border overnight. Prescription drugs are down. Trump accounts, deregulation, the big beautiful bill. You just go through the list.
And right, and what he's doing really is combating the other frauds that posed as policies. And what I love about the Trump accounts for kids, I believe that's the beginning of the greatest lie ever told of Social Security. I think what he did will destroy the lie that Social Security always operated under as some sort of security for our elders, when the real security is individual wealth. And these kids, by the time they're in their 60s, they'll all be worth millions and millions of dollars. They won't give a rip about Social Security. And that little acorn will grow into a tree of liberty that breaks the lie of the nation called Social Security, which is just another tax. You know this. It doesn't exist. There is no money. They steal money from us. And this is what a news organization should have been exposing since they passed it, yet they didn't. This is the beauty of Newsmax. However, what are the obstacles you've seen And can you tear them down to where you become on the mainstream media? I mean, cable is great. It's fantastic. And you already are on your way to that plateau. But how do we take them down? Do we buy CNN and just rename it?
Well, look, Newsmax is not that far behind CNN in the ratings right now. The public is turning. They have some advantages in their positioning in cable channels, but Newsmax is on. Check any cable system in the Chicago area. We should be on it.
I do.
We're on all the YouTube TV, Hulu TV Live. We're there too. If you go to Roku and Samsung and Vizio, all these OTT platforms, we're there.
But people don't know the political. People don't know the political power that they had by making it mandatory to be on in every airport, by being on and all this stuff. I mean, it's really an example of corporatism. CNN has never existed the way Newsmax has. You stand on your own 2 feet. They never have. So how do you expose that and chop it away so that it doesn't happen again?
Well, the numbers, people are voting with their clickers, their downloads, the remote controls. They're going to Newsmax. So the numbers are there. I mean, we are reaching about 50 million people through all our platforms. It's a huge number. We're one of the top media, and it's been now reported that we're one of the top media in the United States. We didn't have the big checkbook that Rupert Murdoch or the CNNs of the world had, or the Time Warners and things like that. It was people that came to Newsmax and that are helping to grow us. And that's going to continue. We went public last year on the New York Stock Exchange. It was a huge success.
I remember.
The company is doing very well. Our second quarter results, we were way up this year. We think that's going to continue very strong. So the public is turning. It's not us. It's the public.
Well, look at the difference. You're succeeding through producing something the consumer wants versus the bastardization of how these others exist. I'm loving the fact watching Paramount try to unload CNN. It's like watching Chicago try to unload debt they can't collect. So I love what your story is, but what was it like to get started? When you get started, you get an idea, you figure I need X amount of dollars. What's that process like? And how receptive was everybody when you first made the idea, the pitch of what Chris Ruddy is going to do and change media? How did it work?
Well, remember, Shaun, I started in the 90s during the dot-com. 1998, we launched Newsmax. I had been a journalist covering the Clinton White House and covering what the Clintons were doing. And that I was pretty dismayed that the press was just totally in the bag for the Democratic Party and the Clintons. And I felt we needed more media. I saw the power of things like the Drudge Report. I started Newsmax in 98. People, I guess, didn't think it would succeed, but it did. I started with $25,000 investment, actually.
I love that.
And it wasn't huge amounts of money, but it was a lot of people kept coming to us. It's that voting with your clicks, voting with your downloads, and we just grew. And then one thing led to another. We had a very vibrant .com digital business for many years. I saw the power of the video coming into the internet. I said, we need to start a channel. I like Fox, but Fox has been changing. It's not the channel. President Trump criticizes Fox. Don Jr. won't even go on Fox. And he knows, they might give lip service here and there, but you really can't rely on them anymore. That's why people are tuning in to Newsmax, and they tune in and say, what's the difference with this? I say just tune it in. Watch us. You'll see a big difference when you tune in.
I love it. I love it. I love some of the guys you get. And the other thing, too, is they're principled. When you're principled, you can't be swayed. And that's something that you find very, very rarely in this industry. So I love what you do. That's why I think it stands out. You're mentioning Fox News. Fox News, in my opinion, the heyday was a decade ago, to maybe more. And what you see now, what do you have? 3 shows, maybe, that are worth the time of day. So I love what you do. I mean, a lot of my clips for my show come from your station, and I love the fact that some of your guys are very, very, very aggressive and principled. But you've had to deal with so much of running a news organization. Are you still in there every minute of the day? Are you still on top of these guys?
The news is a 24/7 business. You don't go in it to go relax. You don't go in it to go sit in the Riviera Beach and sitting out on the Hamptons. I'm here in New York right now, which is our TV headquarters. Our company's headquartered in Florida, but we're doing business. There's a lot of news happening. We have a president that's 24/7.
Isn't it nice?
I just spoke to him the other day, and he's really excited about the midterms. He sees it as a big challenge. He thinks he's going to do really well. He doesn't buy these polls, which is typical of him. He's an optimist. But I do think, when you look at his track record, it's not bad. I know there's the Iran war thing, which is, it's never easy taking on such a bad regime. Trump is the guy, the right man for the right moment on that. I think he will do well. And we just got to stick with him. It's a momentary blur, but consider what we had under Joe Biden just 4 years ago. It was not even 4 years ago. It was 2 years ago. It was a mess.
Complete fraud. Tied to scandal after scandal. I believe he should be tried for treason, not just because he stole the election, but the laptop, the evidence in Ukraine. You want to talk about a war of nonsense, the former Soviet Union. You know what else I love, Chris? When I talk about America, it's not just because I'm proud of Americanism and the principle of liberty and the only country founded on the citizen, not the government. I like when I see the election results of a presidential campaign and 85% of the country has not ever voted Democrat. We're controlled by the most corrupt areas in this country, the areas like the one I'm from, like New York, and these other areas that are all mafia controlled. When you step back and look at the counties of an election over the last 20 years, you want to feel patriotic and proud of America, that's how you do it. So I think we're way in the lead, and I love that's why that's your target audience. 85% of this country is dying for Newsmax. So I love the fact that you did it, and that you did it with $25,000 only makes the story even better, doesn't it?
Well, and talk radio is very important for Newsmax. I mean, they have been the base. There's a reason why the automakers, the big media companies, are trying to get AM radio out of cars. They want to get AM radio, and then they're looking to get FM radio. They won't have them in cars. AM radio is the base. More people go to talk radio across this country than watch Fox and Newsmax combined. Religious broadcasting is all AM radio. They know that. They want to get it out of cars. And there's a big effort.
Oh, I know.
And I'm not in radio. We do some some small stuff in radio. But, I know that's a battle. We fight it. We've been fighting the FCC. The president's FCC chairman wants to give the TV broadcasters unlimited reach so that ABC or NBC could own every station in the country. Now they're locked. They can own stations only in about the big markets, but they're not in most cities around the country. And I don't get it. The TV industry opposed some Republicans. They're not with us. They're not fair, and we want more competition at the local level. So when you see this, I'm fighting for these things, even though they're not always directly related to what we're doing.
Yeah. Well, we're fighting for the truth against the lies, right? It's really an ongoing war. It's not just politics. It's good versus evil when you really break it down. So I love that Newsmax is on my team, and I love the fact that I know how busy you are and you still make time for me. It's really quite a compliment. Thank you.
Well, it's Shaun Thompson and it's also Chicago, right? So yeah. That's a combination that you don't turn down. It's an offer you don't refuse.
Yeah, I'm just that jerk that wants to get punched in the face by calling out that pretend tough guy, Chris. So you know that. You don't remember those guys. Chris Ruddy, thanks for making time, but more importantly, thanks for creating a company that delivers truth in a world of lies. Newsmax.com. Thank you so much.
All right, Shaun. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too. We'll be back with your calls and comments.
Marxists, socialists, and communists are not welcome